This is a recap video on how to convert between fractions, decimals and percentages. And we're going to use this diagram that I've got here to work out what all of the conversions are in all different directions. So you might want to draw your own diagram like this, nice and big, with arrows pointing in the right directions to show how to convert from one of these words to the other. Okay, so I'm going to show you what all of these conversions are. We're going to start with the easy ones, which are the ones on the right hand side. We're going to go between fractions and percentages first. And the key to doing that is to recognise that percentages is all to do with a particular number. Okay, percentages are all to do with quantities which are out of 100. Okay, a percentage is something that's out of 100, a bit like a score that's out of 100. And to help us do some conversions, down here, I've written down some numbers which are factors of 100. Okay, so when we're coming across these numbers, we can easily convert them into hundreds because they all go into 100. Okay, so like 5 goes into 100 20 times, that kind of thing. So if you've got a fraction and you want to get it to a percentage, then you've just got to make sure it's out of 100, and then you know what the percentage is. So let's think of a fraction. I'll make my pen bigger. So let's think of a fraction 18 out of 25. Right, now that's a fraction. I want it as a percentage, that's out of 100. 25 goes into 100, that's quite useful. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to see if I can get this fraction out of 100. Now the way to do that is to multiply the denominator by 4. And to keep this fraction equivalent, I have to do the same on the top, so 18 times 4 as well. So 18 lots of 4, double it twice, that's 72 out of 100. And now we've got it in the right form, I can write the percentage down, it's 72%. Okay, so the trick was to get that 100 on the bottom and then you can read off the percentage. Okay, let's have another go at one. Let's try a different example. I want to do 24 out of 30. Okay, now that's another fraction. I want it as a percentage. Now 30 isn't that good of a number to use on the bottom because it doesn't go into 100 very easily. It's not one of these numbers over here. But what I can do is I can look at the 24 as well, and I can hopefully get myself towards one of these numbers, which can then get me back up to 100 again. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to simplify this fraction first, and I know that both of these numbers divide by 3. So if I do that, divide by 3 on the top and the bottom, then the fraction you get there is 8 out of 10. Okay, so by simplifying it, I've got myself to a point where I've got a number that goes back up into 100. So I can do one more step to this, I can get it out of 100, and the multiplier this time on the denominators is 10. So now I can go back up again, make my numbers bigger, times by 10, and times by 10. And now I've got 80 out of 100. So my percentage is 80%. Okay, so that's the conversion from fraction to a percentage. In a moment I'm going to put that on here, but it's pretty much the same going back the other way as well. So I'm going to do some percentages to fractions first as well. So let's go the other way. Let's pick a percentage. I don't know, let's do 55%. Okay, now this percentage symbol, you can think of it as being the out of 100 symbol, okay, or the divide by 100 symbol. So I'm going to state my percentage. I'm going to replace my percentage symbol with being out of 100. And immediately that becomes a fraction, okay? 55 out of 100 is a fraction, but what I'd probably want to do with that is reduce it down to its simplest form, okay? This isn't in its simplest form because I can divide both of these numbers by 5. So to get that to simplify, divide by 5, divide by 5. So now my fraction goes down to 11 over 20. And that's my fraction in its simplest form. And you can check that that doesn't go down any further. And let's do one more for luck. Let's do one that's bigger than 100%. Let's do 128%. Okay, perfectly possible to have a percentage that's more than 100%. That just means it's going to be more than a whole one. So same as before, this percentage, the symbol here means out of 100. So let's put it as being out of 100. Then you can simplify this down. You can divide the top and the bottom. Well, these are both even numbers, so I know I can divide them at least by 2. Let's do that. So this equals 64 on the top and 50 on the bottom. Now let's see if we can reduce this down any more. Both of these numbers are still even, so I can still divide them by 2 again. So that makes it cancel down to 32 on the top and 25 on the bottom. Okay, and with a bit more checking, there aren't any more numbers that go into both of these, so this is the simplest form. So you can stop your answer here, or if you want to, you can write a mixed number to show that it's greater than a whole one. So 25's going into 32, that's 1, and then there's 7 left over. So the mixed number version is 1 and 7/25. And these are 2 different ways to write the same answer. Okay, so on that right-hand side of the triangle then, in both directions, the aim really is to put things out of 100. Okay, once it looks like that, then you've got the percentage on the top, and then you've also got a fraction as well. So right in the middle of these arrows, I'm just going to put out of 100, and that's going in both directions. Okay, but some of these examples won't be that easy to put out of 100. Okay, there are some numbers that really don't work in trying to get it out of 100. For example, if you want to do 5/7 and put that as a percentage, it would be difficult because 7 doesn't go into 100, and it also doesn't go into any of these numbers that I can use. It doesn't reduce down, it doesn't do very much. So with this kind of example, you want to not be going along one of these arrows, you want to try and be getting around the triangle in a different way. Okay, maybe down towards a decimal and then across towards a percentage. So let's try and fill in these other arrows as well and see if we can get around the triangle in a different way. And let's not think about this example just yet. So I'm going to take all of these off. Give you time to make some notes. All right, so we've said before that the percentage symbol means out of 100. This out of line is the same as a divide line. So really, the percentage symbol is also, you can think of it, as being the divide by 100 symbol. Okay, so if it means to divide by 100, we can see what that looks like if I take a percentage. So let's think about 60%. Okay, now the percentage symbol, we've just said, means the divide by 100 symbol. So if I want that into a decimal, all I've got to do is take this and divide it by 100. So these are the digits. If I divide by 100, they move 2 places smaller. That's going to give me 0.6. Okay, so that's a percentage, that's a decimal. Let's do another percentage decimal. I'll pick, I don't know, 160. 0.2%, I don't know. That's fine to have as a percentage. Again, that's the divide by 100 symbol. If I want to get it to a decimal, you divide by 100. The digits move 2 places to the right again, so that makes 1.602. That's my decimal. Okay, I'll do one more as well. Let's do 0.3%. Okay, that's smaller than 1%. It's the same sum though. Percent means divide by 100. Divide this by 100, 2 places smaller, gets me to 0.003. So that's put in 2 extra zeros to make it 2 places smaller. Okay, so if I'm going from left to right over here, percentage to decimal, that's divide by 100. If I want to go back again, it looks as if it's the reverse of this sum, so I want to times by 100. So I'll draw a line under here. If I want to go back the other way, I'll start with them on the right hand side this time to make it a bit more consistent. So let's pick a decimal number. I don't know, 0.38. To get to my percentage, you reverse this sum over here, times by 100, that's 38%. Okay, so I'll put that arrow on to show what we're doing. That's times 100. And I'll do one more. If I pick just a whole number like 5, well, 5 is still a decimal number, okay? It still counts as a decimal. It's on the number line where our decimals live. To get to a percentage, I can times by 100. That's 5 whole ones, which is 500%. Okay, and that makes sense because every whole one that you have is 100%. Okay, so the sums down on the bottom here are timesing and dividing by 100. You've got to make sure that they're going in the right direction. Okay, percentage to decimal, that's the divide by 100 sum. And back this way, decimals to percentage, that's going to be the timesing by 100. Okay, so that's how to go between these two. There are lots more examples of this on the attached PowerPoint I'm going to give you as well. And then last thing to do is to work out how to go between fractions and decimals. If you've got a calculator, that shouldn't be too difficult either. Alright, so fractions. A fraction takes two numbers, and what it does is, as a sum, a fraction is a divide sum. For example, if you have the fraction 2/5, then what that's telling you to do is to do a divide sum, because that's what the line there is telling you. Okay, what we're doing is we're dividing the two numbers in the fraction, and that makes the decimal. So really, to get from a fraction to decimal, you just divide the two numbers. Okay, so I'll put that on straight away. So you fraction to decimal is you divide the numbers in your fraction. Okay, you've got a number on the top, and you divide it by the number on the bottom. Okay, if I want to work out what this is as a decimal, I want to do this divide sum. What you might want to do is, if you don't know what the answer is straight away, you can do a bus stop. But you've got to make sure that the bottom number is being divided into the top number. Okay, you've probably seen this method before. 5s into 2 is a sum I want to do. I know I'm going to get some decimals after my answer, so I'm going to put some placeholder zeros on so I can deal with any remainders that I might get. Okay, then working each digit on its own, 5s into 2, that doesn't go. I can't fit any 5s into 2. Then my decimal point needs to line up over here, and then my remainder, when I divide into 2, is 2, so that can go on the next digit. And then 5s into 20 goes 4 times without any remainder, so I'm done. So my answer to this sum as a decimal, 2 divided by 5, 2/5 is the same as 0.4. Okay, now that's a decimal that terminates, okay? Only after 1 or 2 sums we stopped at the end of our decimal, it didn't repeat, but you might get some examples where the decimal does repeat. For example, if we do 2/3, I know that that decimal is going to repeat itself. So let's do the same as before. We'll do a bus stop, 3s into 2 this time. Again, I'm going to need some placeholder zeros. Let's sort out that bus stop then, it's going off too much. Okay, same as before, 3s into 2. That doesn't go. Decimal place. The remainder is 2, so that goes over there. Then 3s into 20, I can fit 6 3s into 20, and that would make 18. 3 6s is 18. The remainder to 20 is 2, so that goes in the next digit. And then 3s into 20 again, well, this is going to repeat what's come before. I'm going to get 6 again, and then another remainder 2, and then 6 again, and so on. So my decimal for 2/3, that's 0.66666, which is 0.6 recurring. So I can put a dot on the top to show that that digit is repeating, okay? So let's put the repeating conversion as well. 6, 6, 6, like that. Okay. Some of these, though, I'm expecting you to know off by heart. So without having to do this every single time, you should know the decimals. In fact, I'll put that in as well. You should know the decimals for, and I'll put anything that's divided by 2, all the halves. You should know what a half is as a decimal, and thirds as well, and quarters and fifths. So if I give you any fraction with these denominators, you should be able to tell me straight away what the decimals are. Okay, if you don't know all of these, then I suggest you make a list so that you've got that to work with. Okay, so what are all the fifths as decimals? 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, 5/5. What are all of those? And same for the others. Okay, decimals to fractions. I think I might come on to another time, but for now, you've got enough to get you around this triangle diagram without too much hassle. Okay, so I'm going to give you a matching task and a conversion task to do that deals with these skills, but as I say, it is a recap, so it should be skills that you've come across before. It's just a matter of making sure that you're really confident with them. Okay, thanks very much, Ian.